Well, hello, how you doing? Let's hope this works this time. This little cottage that's coming up here on the right. When I was a kid, the guy that owned it raised a bunch of mallard ducks, about 100 of them. And when they got big enough, he let them go on the river. And eventually, there were 200 ducks, and then there were 1,000 ducks. They're all the dead ash trees. And the ducks eventually made it down to Thiensville on the other side of the dam, on the south side of the dam, down by Thiensville Park down there. And that's why there were duck crossing signs in Thiensville. In the springtime, when the mallards the hens would want to go and lay their eggs, they would go up around the buildings around there in Thiensville and have their nests. And they would cross the road there on 57 up around Joan Lanes. I got some pictures coming of that, hopefully, trying to find the sign. That's our driveway. That's where we used to park our cars. Right now it's full of blackberries. And this little sign that's coming up here, over here to the right, there used to be a sign on the tree that said Winkle Shady Nook. I don't think it's that tree. Anyway, down here where this other sign is where the corner of the basement used to be, the steps going down. And then the building went over to the right and then back towards the river. Before it burned down, it was a beautiful little building. It had all knotty pine interior. Windows that went all the way around the front of it so you could see up and down the river. Right here where these flowers are coming up is where we used to put our boat in. And I don't know if you can tell because of the way the camera's shaking. And I tried to stabilize this thing, but every time I tried to stabilize it, it took out the audio. There's a little mallard duck with two little babies swimming across the other side of the river. You can just barely see it. Anyway, I can't see it on this screen, but I saw them when I was down there. Anyway, that's right there is where we used to put our boat in. And all the land to the left of it now, that's all Boy Scout property. That was donated to the Boy Scouts many, many, many years ago. When we had that property, it was all taken care of. It was all cut, grass. Everybody would play over there on the weekends. Horseshoes and all kinds of games were played over there. So, Scout Park. Up on top there was a wood duck nest box. Over here to the right is where the willow tree used to be that went out over to the river, and I guess it's gone now too. When they filled in the basement on this place, in the cottage, all the junk that was down in the basement is coming to the top of the ground, top of the dirt there. I'm going to turn around here in a second and show you. Anyway, that's coming up through the ground. And I happen to remember some of that. It was all stuff that was stored down in that basement. Excuse me. That is an original tree that was there for years upon years upon years. Now it looks like it's dead. too bad that we lost all the ash trees in Wisconsin. And probably other places from ash borers. Anyway, coming down here, we used to have a cement pier right here that went out. And then we had wood pier that went out over the river where we used to park our boats. To the right of it over here is where we, to the right of that is where we had the fire pit. Anyway, right there is where the willow tree went out. There's another old tree over there that's going out over it, but that's not a willow. That's one that's just leaning. And the ice would come down the river, that stuff would come up 3 feet up on top, 3 feet above the tree, the ground level, and pound into the side of the trees. When my grandfather planted those trees, he put them in so that they were in a V, so as the ice came down the river, they would bounce off those trees instead of running into the basement of the cottage. This thing stopped on me again. What in the world? Anyway, I got her going again. Let's see if this works. That's looking north. Right up there around the corner is to the right is the big bay on the river. And across from me is a smaller bay. Shallow water. My brothers and sisters used to take the boat over there in the springtime. Before the snapping turtles came out of hibernation, they walked through that and feel the turtles with their feet and pick them up and put them in the boat. My grandfather used to make soup out of them. Anyway, I keep saying anyway, right over there, looking down where that tree is cut off on the top, is the corner of the property. We used to own up to there. The property itself is actually a pie shape, with the frontage on the river being outside of the pie, outside edge. Those old trees, that one there on the left is an original. That one was standing there for years. And we're looking out over the driveway again, where the driveway used to be. I was just thinking about that garbage that's underneath the ground there, that metal. That's an old hospital bed frame. And after my grandfather died, that got stored in the basement of the cottage. The building was originally his. That's an old frame from a hospital bed. And he had a stroke, and my grandmother took care of him in that bed for at least, I'm sure it was 10 years before he passed away. We got another tree cut down. Boy, that used to be all cornfield across there where they built those houses. Those weren't there the last time I was down here, because it's been years since I took a ride out here to see what it's like. And I thought, well, you know, I heard somebody talk about ducks, and thought, well, nobody knows how so many of them got on the river. I mean, we have our natural Wisconsin ducks that come and go. Those stayed all winter that they raised. There's an old tree that cut down. That wasn't original. And that's where we used to park some of the vehicles. We had a turnaround in there. And there was a path that went in here all the way back through the Scout property. And it goes back as far as the first island coming up from Thiensville Dam. You're heading north on the river, there's the first island. If you go north of where our cottage was, there's another small island up that way. Blackberries, thousands and thousands of blackberries in there. One last look. We head her to Thiensville. I can't believe how much of this dirt is missing from the shoreline. We used to have that all full of rocks. Of course, like I said, it's probably 6 to 8 foot further out. We would go in there every spring because the ice would take all the rocks on the edge out. We'd go in there, go swimming in spring and pull them rocks back up and put them on the edge of the property, on the edge of the river, to keep the shoreline from eating away like that. But we let her go back to nature. And I like that. Well, here we are coming up through Thiensville. All shaky. I wish I could stabilize this video. Sorry about that. Someplace along here on the right-hand side of the road, there was a sign that said duck crossing. And when I drove through there, my wife was driving, I was taking video. When we drove through there, I didn't see the sign anymore. So they probably don't have as many ducks as they used to have. I noticed all those buildings are gone there. They made a small park or something. This red building here is the old Joe and Elaine's building. I heard they remodeled the inside of that. Back behind it is the river. We're turning right on 57. And up there, let's see, what is that? Left side of the road is the old Harmony Bar, and that building, that brown building on the right there is the original Thiensville State Bank. Right across through in here used to be the old mill. Dr. Elby's office used to be on the left. And Elroy's Liquor used to be right there on the right. Anyway, here we are, Thiensville Park, Thiensville Dam. I came up here to see if there was any ducks floating around, but none of those ducks used to hang around this rushing water. I mean, they did up and down the river, but they didn't hang right here. They went down further into Thiensville. We're going to stop again. My audio keeps going out on me and I have to keep redoing it. I don't know what's the matter with this thing. Anyway, that's looking south on the river. On my finger. I don't think much has changed up here. Except that river down on the south end of there where I was looking at, looked like it's a little bit wider than it used to be. So that has taken out quite a bit of shoreline since I was living around here. So that's where all the ducks were that they had to put the crossings, the duck crossing sign on 57 for. It's a good shot of my fingers. And all the buildings are still there. I noticed they added that shelter on the right there. That since I've been up here, and there was another one that they added. It looks like most of those are all original buildings. Anyway, we're starting to get close to the end here. There's a little sign on the where they have the fishery coming in now. The fishway, they call it. You probably looked that up online. I don't remember some of the fish that are in here. I mean, they're saying that there's walleye in here and lake sturgeon and fish like that. I don't remember any of those because we had northern pike. And I know now that they're letting trout, brown trout come up the river and go up into that. We used to just have northerns and bluegills and rock bass and carp and suckers and bullheads and great big huge catfish. When I was a kid, they had brook trout in there, but that was when the river was moving faster or colder or something. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you subscribe, that would be nice. And hit that like button. We appreciate you coming to take a look-see. story about ducks. I noticed that took all the trees out of there now. That's probably where that fishway comes through. I mean, I didn't stay there long enough to walk up and down there to find where they have the viewing station. We're gonna take one more video here. I stopped up on Bonneville Bridge to take a look at the north end of the river here. I don't know if you can see it very well, but down there is the North Island. You can see the water going around both sides of it. That thing has gotten a whole lot smaller too, and it's not because the water is that high. It's because all the dirt that was around the edges of that thing is gone. Over here to the right side of the river is where Gardapi used to live, if anybody remembers them. Family that I grew up with. Right over there on that corner of the river. Anyway, this is the end. Just had to make one more stop before we headed north and going home.